Trustee Donnersberger. Here. Trustee Eck.
Present.
Trustee Fairmair.
Here.
Trustee Kennedy.
Present.
Trustee Metz.
Here.
Trustee O'Loughlin, absent. Mayor Hinshaw.
Here. We could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, hello everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to our meeting. For the record, we do record this meeting, and it is broadcast live on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. And then we make a recording and we put that on our website. We have agendas up here and a sign-in sheet. First item on the agenda is the mayor's report. I'd like to take a moment of silence for the September 11th, 2001 attack. This is our 20-year anniversary. I would also like to announce that September is Suicide Awareness Month. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in the United States. I encourage all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors. Sidewalks. In our village, we have a board-approved master sidewalk plan, and there are 4 main areas of that. Acacia Drive, as you came in, you could all see the construction. That will be added this summer on the southern end of the project. The northern half will be next year, and we'll have an agenda item to talk about Acacia Drive, so we'll get more information on that. But just to remind everybody, Acacia Drive will be a mess for the rest of the summer. Plainfield Road and Wolf Road are both county roads, and they are both in a Phase 1 study. We are expecting to have Wolf Road alternatives available in early 2022 for resident review and comment. And lastly, for the sidewalks, Joliet Road, we're working with our legislators to keep the project of a sidewalk along the north side moving forward. We've also started talking with Countryside about an effort to have a sidewalk on the southern side, which is mostly countryside by us. Plainfield Road, the bridge work is ongoing and will continue to be open throughout the project. At the end, we'll have a new bridge, and the project will be done end of next year. And along the Plainfield Road corridor, as part of that Phase 1 study, there will be a tree study, and so we'll have more on that as that comes out. 294 update, the northern half of the 294 sound wall between Joliet Road and Plainfield is under construction. The wooden sound wall section by Plainfield Road Bridge will be coming down later this month. The on-ramp from Joliet to the 294 north is expected to be completed in November. The tollway construction through Indian Head Park area will last several years, and please note the southern half of the sound wall between Joliet Road and Plainfield will be constructed next summer. A couple other things. I encourage everyone to get the COVID vaccination if they have not already done so. And lastly, I also suggest that every resident should sign up on the website for the village notifications. You can select the areas that interest you. I was notified today that Wolf Road under the 294 bridge will be down to 1 lane on the 13th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All right, at this point in the meeting agenda, we have public comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. And I don't see any. Greg?
Name is Greg Skovich, address 6447 Thunderbird, Drive. And I'm here tonight to comment on new business item C. I am a member of the Plan Commission, however, for the formal hearing and vote that was conducted in August for this particular item, I was unable to participate. I was absent on vacation, but I would like to formally go on record in support, along with the other members of the Plan Commission, of this development. I commend staff, I commend the applicant for putting together a very nice, comprehensive package in conformance with the PUD, and feel that it is in line with what the spirit and the intent of the PUD. I commend the administration that adopted the PUD for integrating certain provisions that allowed for some discretion, and feel that it was exercised very well by not only the applicant and staff, but certainly interpreted by the Plan Commission appropriately. So I look forward to the discussion, and hope that the board falls in line with the staff as well as the Plan Commission recommendation to support this exciting development for Indian Head Park.
Thank you, Greg. Anybody else? All right, I don't see any. We will keep moving along to the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean and Rita. Anybody on the board have a question for John or anything of that? Maureen, are you ready for our financial report? Thank you.
So at the end of July, cash on hand was 2.9 million. Revenue for the month was 527,000. Warrants were 462,000. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Ending cash balance of 3 million.
Thank you very much. All right, one last try. Any questions? Okay, John, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
Trustee Verber,
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Metz,
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin is absent.
All right, thank you. That has been approved. All right, next item is the swearing in of Police Officer Robert Verber. Chief, I think you're up.
Good evening, everybody, board, Mr. Mayor. Recently, we have had a new hire to our full-time staff, which has not been done in a while. And unfortunately, we had one of our full-time officers, Bill Bozak, who got COVID back in January, and still has not yet to recover fully where he could come back to work. So he was, he's on one of the long hauler lists that they have with COVID patients. So fortunately, we had to let Bill go, and we now have an established list from Lateral Transfers, so we took off our lateral list, and we're bringing in an officer named Rob Verber. Rob is a retired Westchester police officer for 32 years, and he is here tonight with some of his family to be sworn in. He started last week, Monday, and has been doing really well so far. Rob has had quite a career. He worked a lot in patrol there for a long time, but then he really found his niche when he got moved into the school resource officer. He became a school resource officer with Westchester. Then he became the community relations guy, and he became the everything public relations with the police department Rob was doing. And Rob does a phenomenal job. He's their social media officer as well. I've had officers, when I was involved with Special Olympics, I had officers from all these different departments come up and say, hey, when I was in Westchester, who's your Facebook guy? That guy does a great job. I'm taking stuff from him all the time, and I'm posting it on my page and things like that. So Rob's got quite a track record when it comes to that. He's huge in the schools. He was a very popular officer in Westchester in the schools, and everybody would call him Officer Rob, and he really worked his tail off for the school district. He would do National Night Out. He ran that. When I got at Westchester, I brought in the Special Olympics program, but I also brought in Shop with a Cop, where officers take kids from families that are really struggling, and we take them Christmas shopping. We get money from sponsors, and we have a big caravan, and we go Christmas shopping, lights and siren to the stores. And we go through the stores and we shop with the kids and we bring them back and have a pizza party. And then we had so much money, we were able to get them all bicycles and things like that. And Rob spearheaded that as well. And so he's really, he got an array of experience. And I'm very excited because I've got some plans for him as well. And when it comes to our community relations and that, and he's going to help our new social media guy, Steve Rubin, do his job and hopefully get better at the Facebook side of things and public relations. So I'm very excited to have Rob join us. He seems to be, so far, he hasn't left. He's been here almost 2 weeks, so he hasn't gone yet. So everything is really good. But tonight he's going to be sworn in. So do you know who the honor is going to be? Okay. Rob, come on up. Officer, Rob Verber here. Stand right out there.
You want to come over here, Rob? There you go, sir. You can raise your hand, please. I, Rob Verber, do solemnly swear
I, Rob Verber, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
of the Village of Indian Head Park to the best of my ability.
of the Village of Indian Head Park with the best of my ability.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Take the mask off the picture.
It's okay. You can do an just for a picture. Thank you. Kids don't like masks and pictures.
No.
Well, you can take it. Okay, great. Thank you.
And family, if you want to come up and
Yeah,
take a picture, whatever.
Rob, you want to say a couple words and then bring up your family and introduce them? Go ahead.
Yes, Chief, I had my mom, Diane, here this evening, as well as my sister Denise and my mom's husband, Jeff. I'd like to thank the Fire and Police Commission, as well as the board, as well as Chief Stelter and our Deputy Chief for taking me on, and I hope they have a long and very successful career here with the Indian Head Park Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Mom. Oh.
Before Matt comes up.
Before they leave, can I say something?
Sure.
So first of all, I want to congratulate you, officer, on being sworn in to one of the finest here at Indian Head Park. I don't know if you recognize me.
Now I do.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was your first day of work. On Monday, excuse me, my husband and I ran into a bit of a problem. As we were getting off of 294 at the Joliet exit, we ran out of gas. He pushed me down that hill. Have you done that too? Yeah. And I coasted down Joliet and came to a stop right in front of Officer Verber's police car. I was never so happy to see a squad car in my life. He got out of the car and calmed me down and tried to push it. It was in park, he couldn't push it. But between Officer Verber and Officer Adler, who also came to our rescue, they made sure that we weren't hit by the cars whizzing past. They made sure my husband got it. I left him back and he pushed me and I kept going. So he had to march down that hill by himself, which was pretty frightening. So they kept him safe. They kept me calm until my son came with gas. So thank you. I want to thank you and Officer Adler publicly. And I know you're going to do a great job for Indian Head Park. You're off to a great start. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
No. Good night.
Okay, next up is an Acacia Drive update. John, do you want to do an intro?
We have Matt Gaziak from Strand Associates. They are the project engineer for the Acacia Road project, and Matt's going to explain the mess and hopefully no way out of it. So Matt, it's all
Yep.
yours.
Yep, thanks, John. Thank you, Board. Good evening. For those of you who have not met yet, I am Matt Gadziak, and I'm an engineer with the Village Engineer Strand Associates. My colleague Tony Spinelli is kind of the main point of contact, but he is on vacation this week, so I am filling in for him. But I've been involved with the Acacia Drive project since it started back in 2018, so I'm very knowledgeable and up to speed with what's going on. So first of all, thank you everyone for your patience. As it has been mentioned, it's a little bit of a mess out there right now, but it is ongoing and we're making good progress. With the project, I know in previous meetings it had been mentioned that the construction was going to start back in May or so of this year. However, there were NICOR delays that were unexpected from the roadway side of things, where NICOR took the opportunity to take some of the specific like point locations where there was conflicts and use it to upgrade everything in along the corridor. So that's why you may see that there's a lot of torn up sod and grass and things removed outside of where just the roadway is. So with NICOR taking the opportunity to upgrade everything that they have in the area, that pushed the start of the actual road work back because the NICOR contractor was in the way, and our contractor on the roadway side of things did not want to start and have any potential conflict as they were going along. So in, I believe it was the last week of July or the first week in August is when the actual construction started out here on site. And we hope that by giving NICOR enough lead time that the roadway work would not catch up to where they're at. And it has been pretty good up to just today, actually, where the roadway contractor has finally caught up to where the NICOR contractor is. And it sounds like NICOR is at the very end of where their work is at, where they have been providing new services to all the homes in the community here. And so over the next week or so, our contractor on the roadway side is going to be pretty much finished up with everything that they can do. So there may be about a week of delay, but we anticipate, I guess, Monday is the 13th, so it'd probably be Monday the 20th is when the actual excavation work is going to start along Acacia. And that's going to be from the south intersection with Wolf up to between the Wilshire Green entrance and the north entrance of Acacia Circle. So that is where our kind of halfway point for the project is for what's going to be done this year. So in about a week and a half, it's going to be getting a lot more messy there because they're actually going to be tearing up the surface of the roadway and excavating and kind of grading that to its final location before they move forward with doing the new curb and gutter on each side, the new sidewalk, and then ultimately the pavement at the end. So there's probably about a month or so of actual Acacia Drive construction left for this southern half for this year, but it's not going to be a month from today because NICOR still needs a little bit of time to get out of the way. If NICOR was not finishing up their work, we would be out there on this upcoming Monday to get things going, but there still is no concern that the southern portion will not be finished this year. And that's going to be up to the new sidewalk that's in, the new asphalt pavement, new curb and gutter, and all of that. So once we're done with the southern half this year, it will be cleaned up and it'll be a nice, smooth surface to drive on over the winter, at which point it'll remain like that until the spring when we will pick it back up from around Acacia Circle and carry that forward past Village Hall to the north entrance of Acacia Drive and Wolf. Let's see if there's anything else I got. For landscaping, so as I mentioned, NICOR has torn up a lot all the way up to the houses where they've been putting in new services. Once they are complete with their work within the next week or so, they're going to come in and put, I believe it'll be seed and the temporary like straw blanket to make sure that the seed can take hold. For the areas that we are impacting closer to the roadway, ultimately it will be placed with new trees and with sod in the entire area, so it'll look a lot better than what Nicor is putting back. However, we don't anticipate placing that by the end of this year. So, and it's really driven by the trees that are going to be planted. The intent is to plant the new trees in the spring and then fill in the sod everywhere around, versus doing some sod now and then coming back and trying to plant trees later in the spring. So it will be left in a smoothed out, but still temporary surface over the winter. And then come spring will be when the landscaping is done final with brand new sod everywhere in the area. That's general overview. I can certainly dive into more specifics as needed, but are there any questions from the board or members of the public that are here tonight?
I have a question. When do you think in the spring the project will resume?
Depending on weather, April or so. And then I would think there would probably be maybe 2 months or so once it gets started.
Okay,
But-
Nicor's work will be all done with this?
Yes. Yep. So Nicor didn't do. They're doing everything all the way up for the north half of the project as well. So there should be no delays on their end once we actually pick things up.
Okay, and is this affecting our cost any, breaking it up into these two phases?
No, that should not have any impact on that. So the work that the contractor's doing, the way that it was broken out in the plans was in 2 stages anyways. So the contractor's bid prices, they can't say, well, I was planning on doing this all at once. Now that I have to split it up, it's going to cost me, more. We represented it that way in the set of the contract drawings. So there should be no additional cost due to inflation or escalation or anything like that with it extending into next year.
What does this do to other projects that we had scheduled, like that we were going to do a grinding down and resurfacing of Sequoia? Does it push other things back?
Take that, that's another engineering firm that's handling that. It will not, the only thing that changed was we were looking to do Acacia Circle this year, and we deferred it until later on.
Other questions for Matt?
I have one. I may have missed your comment on this. The trees that have been removed, are there any more trees planning on being removed?
No. So even though most of the roadway work is happened in the south half of the project so far, when the contractor first came in, they did tree removal for the entire corridor. So there will not be any more trees that are removed once we move to the north half of it next year.
And do you anticipate any other delays next spring? I know this year, like we had unmarked utilities that caused a while to get people out to check that they weren't used. I think MWRD had a little issue. Do you anticipate anything for next year as we resume?
Yep. With the surprising unmarked utilities that we have seen so far in the first half, we're going to use this winter to get out ahead of that and really make sure that we are communicating with ComEd and Nicor and AT&T. They're all in the area to really make sure that none of their utilities are going to be in the way. And if they are going to be in the way, they can take the winter to relocate those outside of where our area is at, so that once that we come to the spring next year, we can hit the ground running and hopefully not find any surprises. But it has been an interesting experience out there with seemingly every day excavating to do some of the underground sewer work, and there's things that we had no idea that's there. The utilities can't even tell us if it's dead or alive, or if it's even theirs. So we're hoping to be efficient through the winter and not run into the same issues now that we know that there's some surprises underground. And as far as any of the other permitting requirements, like with MWRD or with Cook County, those are all resolved and should not delay anything as we move into the second half of the project.
Two questions for you. Roughly, where's the breakdown between the north and south lines that you've been referring to?
Yep. So the intersection, I guess the closer intersection of Acacia Circle, just on the other side of the Village Hall entrance out here, it'll be just a little bit south of that. So access to the Wilshire Green condos will be maintained at all times. And that was a decision that was made so that access can always be provided via one entrance that is not under construction.
So the north is essentially the south entrance to the parking lot north?
Yep, and then also...
Roughly?
Yep, and then there's also a sidewalk that is extending along Cascade Drive over to Black Hawk Park. So that will occur in the northern half as well.
And if NI Gas is continuing to work on the north side, are they leaving any debris or issues that you're going to clean up after them, or do they clean up after themselves?
No, that is not the responsibility of our contractor, but we are continuing to push them, and the administrator has been involved as well to make sure that NICOR doesn't leave the area looking like, like a work site. Even though some areas are still torn up, at the very end, NICOR will come through and clean up all the debris and exposed earth and everything that is theirs. So, we ultimately, at the end of the day, the NICOR work is being done kind of because our project, triggered them to do that work. And we want to make sure that even though it's outside of our limits, we want to make sure that it's left in an acceptable fashion to the members of the community. Because if it was my own backyard, I wouldn't want debris to be left there, and I wouldn't want, exposed earth to be left there. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Matt, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Assuming this road is going to last for 50-plus years, is this all being documented and 10 boards from now aren't going to run into these same issues, is my question. These surprises.
Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, we're on strands, and the reason that we're out there is to make sure that all these stuff is documented, and where we're putting things in underground and where we find things underground. Those are documented in the plan. So at the end of the day, we'll have copies of everything that's provided to the village. What the village does with it after that, I think that's up to your record keeping.
Aside from the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails I have a banker's box full of Acacia Drive paperwork to date.
Yes, you will be drowning in paperwork and documentation of everything at the end of this.
And let's hope in 50 years they're not looking at a box of papers. All right, anything else from Matt?
Later on.
Yeah, we're going to hit a scanner later. All right, Matt, thank you
All right,
very
perfect.
much.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to leave. You don't need to stay. I do want to add on the Acacia Drive that this board is committed to making Acacia Drive look good when we're done. We've talked about other money. I see heads nodding. But we want to see how it will look and what may need to be done after. So again, thank you, Matt. Okay, moving along to the next item, C, approval of development 6991 Joliet Road. John? Oh, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the development of 6991 Joliet Road based on the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Rita and Charlie. All right, now, John.
We might want to, so this is part of the plan unit development process. So we met with the developer, he appeared before the board initially for a look-see, and he moved forward with it. We had a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. As this is part of a plan unit development, special attention was made to the development process. And a public hearing was held before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I believe 2 meetings
before Planning and Zoning Commission, and we have the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Noreen Costello, who would like to comment on the commission's findings.
Thank you, Noreen.
Sure. Noreen Costello. The motion to recommend was passed unanimously. We were very impressed with the plans overall. Some of the concerns that were raised, but I believe answered to our satisfaction, were we'd like it to be more pedestrian friendly. That was just kind of impossible to do at this time across Vine Street in particular. There was some concern about the placement of the waste disposal, for garbage pickup, the containers. And, but it seems that that's inevitable, but the petitioner agreed to screen heavily and to make it beautiful, which is in his best interest too. So we, essentially any objections we had, we believe were successfully overcome, and we're enthusiastic about recommending approval of the petition. Are there any questions?
We also have the petitioner, Jerry, here. Thank you for coming. So I would say if we want to ask Noreen questions, time to do it. It's now, and then maybe Jerry would answer questions if you have any for him, if that's all right, Jerry. But we'll see. We'll get there. Questions or comments for Noreen?
I would just say that I attended the meetings at the Planning and Zoning Commission with regard to this, and I think the commission did a very thorough and good job in vetting this and asking for changes to make it more aesthetically responsive to the PUD, and the petitioners very willingly did that and changed the design of the building. So I just wanted to commend the commission on that.
Thank you. We agree.
Thank you. Sean?
I'm sorry, was it Jerry or Gary?
Jerry, I believe. Jerry,
Gary?
right?
So, rough.
Can we save Noreen and then
Oh,
we'll get
yep.
Jerry? Any for?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Jerry.
No problem.
All right, Sean, you're back up.
Rough estimate, not going to hold your feet to the fire. Everything gets approved, shovels go on the ground, time frame of completion of the project, roughly.
Well, we were hoping to have it done by beginning of March, but I don't think that's realistic. Hopefully by May, depending on the winter and stuff like that. But yeah, it's if we can start by late October, I don't know that that's realistic either. It's probably going to be middle of November, and then it's probably going to take 6 months.
Other questions for Jerry? Like Rita, I attended a lot of the meetings, and I want to thank you again for your flexibility and your eagerness to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission. I believe you changed the facade of the building from what you initially started with, and thank you. And I know that you have spent a lot of time talking about landscaping, and one comment, that you said that hit home with me is that this is your business. Your name's going to be on the side of the building, and you want it to look good. And I believe you in that. So I appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. We look forward to working with you.
I think, any other questions for Jerry? We can have other discussion, but any questions for Jerry at this point?
Welcome to Indian Head Park.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think you can sit down, and we'll, any comments or questions amongst the board?
Sure, I'll begin. It looks like a great building. I saw how it was adjusted. I just don't think the location is ideal for our original intentions. When we looked at the triangle area, we developed a PUD because we had heard that the 3 houses on Vine were going to, or I'm sorry, on Wolf Road were going to come down. And the new owner there had the intention of putting in medical offices, which would generate 0 sales tax revenue. And this town, as we all know, has a very small retail sales tax base. So an office building with an insurance company and a finance company is not going to generate any kind of sales tax revenue for us. When we had a redevelopment plan created for that parcel, the development objective, one of the primary things was, it says, due to the limited amount of land available in the village for sales tax generating uses, it is imperative that the village guide the development of this area. The development of the triangle area in its totality will not only increase sales tax for the village, but will also create a community gathering space and a place of pride for residents as well as visitors. That an insurance building or an office building doesn't seem to fit in that development objective at all. I can go on with some of the other items that are in the redevelopment report. None of them mention offices other than as a second-story use. So this is putting this building here is going to preclude us from anything else. I know we've had some other businesses interested in the doing some development in our town. We had a gas station. We weren't so excited about that. That idea has died. I think a car wash was considering coming in. That doesn't necessarily generate any sales tax revenue. There could be a way to generate a use fee from that, perhaps. But so we've turned those down. But this we're looking at, and I don't quite understand why. So I'm disappointed that the zoning board looked at it unanimously when they were a part of developing the redevelopment plan, the whole PUD. So to me, it's just, I can't support it because it's not going to help to further us. I think the real estate taxes that will be generated for the village are about $15,000 per year. Is that correct?
Yes. All fees, sales taxes generated from local shopping,
License.
we anticipate $15,000 a year.
From local shopping, I'm not sure.
Like if they go to Wolf's Head, there's a small increment for that included in that estimate.
Okay, so actual real estate taxes are even lower than 15,000. Okay. Yeah, so it's disappointing. It's not what I would intend for this site. I do understand that it hasn't been a hotbed of activity. However, I think we need a proper chance to develop this. So what that proper chance is, and I'm not quite sure. I know, Eileen, you've got a redevelopment committee, and I'm not sure what your stance is on this. But those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Chris. Any others?
Well, I've only been involved in the Economic Development Committee for a few months. However, it's been ongoing for several years without any luck at really developing anything there. And I think from my limited time in this position, there are several reasons for that. One is that there are multiple parcels, each parcel owned by somebody different, which makes it extremely difficult for us. We can set the parameters, but we can't tell them who to sell to, number one. Number two is lack of money. We really have nothing to offer to some of these landlords in order to have them come up with better uses for those properties. The third one is talking to some marketing firms, and we're in the process now of trying to hire a marketing firm to help us market the area. It's not a desirable location. We think it is, but some of the marketing firms, well, I talked to at least one big marketing firm in Chicago, Baun & Group, B-A-U-N, and they said it's landlocked with the tollway, even though you can get on and off, it's landlocked. It's just not a good place. So I think we're going to struggle. I've got some ideas in terms of moving forward to make the triangle area look a whole lot more attractive, which I'm hoping will bring in more business to the stores that are in there and maybe upgrade the businesses so that will in turn bring in new revenue. So, I mean, that's my take on it after just a couple of months. I'm sort of Johnny-come-lately to that particular parcel that was already in the works, so I really have not paid much attention, frankly.
Thank you. Other comments?
The Zoning and Planning Committee did look at that usage, Chris, in terms of, retail, and generally, they felt that, they thought that was a tough nut to crack in terms of putting retail on the first floor. But they didn't ignore that. They looked at it, and so that's part of their discussion and coming up with their overall recommendation.
Yeah, Jerry, I don't know if you can come to the podium, ask you a question there. Did you ever consider any kind of retail on the first floor? In a limited fashion, maybe?
The company that we thought was going to rent the first floor, that might not happen. That was a financial company. So we are in the process right now of, retail coming there is not out of the possibilities. So I can't, the same point that you just made, we're occupying the second floor. So the first floor, we obviously are going to lease. So we have to lease to what comes our way. So if there's an opportunity for retail to come there, we're not against it. It's just, we thought we had a built-in tenant prior to building the building, and I think that's 50-50 right now, due to things out of our control. So who's going to take the first floor? It's a possibility.
So I have a question. If we are able to hire a marketing firm to market that area, would you be willing to work with this marketing firm to see who they could bring in there?
At my cost, or
Well,
just
let's
so I'm
talk.
full disclosure?
We'll talk. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, so we need to.
We are open to, I know there's some things that we probably would not be open to moving in there. Obviously, we have a professional organization
Oh, yeah.
upstairs, so there's some businesses that we would not want there because of our clientele that come to the location. So we're open. Obviously, it's a financial benefit for us that the first floor is rented or leased. So we're not going to argue with someone that wants to pay us to, move in there. But we also have to consider our business upstairs, that it doesn't have a negative effect on why we're originally building the building, is for a home for us. But yes, to answer your question, if some retail store that was willing to move in and it made sense for it to be there, we would be open to that.
So now I'm curious what kind of business you wouldn't want in there. So and then let me ask maybe a better question than that. Would a
Cannabis?
restaurant be something you would consider?
Cannabis?
Yes. That would be advantageous to us somewhat, that there's a place to eat right below us. Again, it depends. I own a bar restaurant myself. There's certain types of, if the decor met the style of the building we're building and what we have upstairs, then we would be open to that. If it's a, 2 a.m., nightclub where we're cleaning up the parking lot every morning, that would not be something we would be interested in. But if it's a mid to higher scale restaurant that is more of a food place that has liquor, we would definitely be interested in that. Because again, we have a lot of customers that come to our place, so it would make sense, because we're coming from the Burr Ridge. Now I'm going blank, but the shopping area, there's a name for it, the Promenade, which is very convenient because we can just walk to Capri or walk to a lot of places. So that would be advantageous, but again, it would have to be of the right model.
How many square feet is each floor?
60, about 7,500. And the first floor is being laid, the way the building's built, the first floor is being built that there can be 2 occupants. They each can have 3,500, 3,700 square feet. There'll be 2 entrances on the first floor. The med center entrance is only to get to our office upstairs. So there won't be a common, so that way, to your point, if we did have something on the first floor, they could not get to our second floor once we leave.
if it, not that anybody's expressed any interest in it, but if a cannabis dispensary wanted to come in, would that be an objectionable business?
It would not be necessarily what we would be looking for. I know that's something the board has, I've heard from many people, is a desirable tenant for the village because of the tax revenue, but again, that would be something that, I have friends in that business. Again, for what we're doing and why we're building the building, that would not necessarily be something we would be looking to put in there.
Yeah, and I hope you don't take my objections personally, but
Hey, business is business, I
mean, we're-
understand. What you're
we're
trying,
looking-
what you're trying to do is create revenue to the village.
right, and to have.
We're trying to take a vacant lot and make it a beautiful part of the village as well. So it's just trying for both of those to meet in the middle, and you get your revenue and we get our office, and we're all able to cohabit together where it's not affecting our business who's on the first floor, and we're hopefully helping the business below us with our employees using that
Yeah,
business.
and I love the idea of creating a community gathering place. I just don't think an office building alone is going to do it. An office building with some retail, a restaurant, I think that will certainly help. But offices and offices on each floor, to me, is a difficult one to swallow.
And I understand your reason for saying that. You know, obviously, we're biased why we want to put the building there and why we want it to be nice. So obviously, if there's a firm that would bring us tenants that would bring you revenue and they, you know, fit in what we're trying to accomplish, we're all ears. You know, we're open to that. But, so it just, whatever makes sense for both of us.
Other questions, comments? Thank you again, Jerry.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't hear any other comments. John, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Verber? Yeah, aye. Trustee Eck? Aye. Trustee Donnersberger?
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy?
Aye.
Trustee Metz?
No.
Trustee O'Loughlin absent.
All right, so that has been approved. Welcome again, Jerry.
Congratulations.
Okay, next item is approval of a task order for stormwater management. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the task order for Thomas Engineering for the stormwater management study as submitted by Thomas Engineering in an amount not to exceed $60,000.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sean and Eileen. John, is this you?
Yes, this is part of a multi-year study that we're looking to do. We have some stormwater management issues on the west side of the village, specifically starting mainly in 45 acres and leading west to Flag Creek. However, there is water that comes from the east side of Wolf Road on several locations that crosses its way over Wolf Road, or under Wolf Road, I should say, into the area contributing it. So we're looking to establish a series of benchmarks for sizing of potential public improvements in the 45 acres and what we call Old Town in the village. We'll be looking at specific stormwater runoff data, a 1-year rain, or a 1% chance rain that's a 100-year rain, or a 10% chance of a rain happening in any given calendar year, to see how the water is flowing, what conditions the road will flood, and what conditions we will have flooding in backyards. So it's a comprehensive study, and it's a first step to really kind of alleviate a problem that's been percolating, no pun intended, for the last several years. So that is the scope of the study.
Any questions about this for John?
I had a question. Are they going to also make recommendations as
Yes.
to how to
Correct.
remedy this
Correct.
situation?
And it could be something along the lines of improving the swales in the front yards or in the rear yards, or increasing the size of the stormwater mains in the area. This is a first step to find out what exactly we have and where we need to go. One of the issues is people fill in their ditches or make changes in their backyards that impacts the flow of water. And surprisingly, people will think, oh, I'm just doing a little change, but it's actually significant when they do a change and their neighbor does a change, and then you live downstream of all of these changes. So that is where we're headed with this study. Justin, do you have anything that I missed that you want to add?
Oh, that was perfect, thank you.
All right.
And Justin said, no, that was perfect. I just wanted to get that because, again, we're recorded. Eileen, sorry.
So I'm not familiar with any of this stuff, but I do know that Ashbrook has 3 ponds, and the 3 ponds are fed from from the south side of Indian Head Park. Does this have anything to do with that?
No, Ashbrook for the most part, and Acacia subdivision, for lack of a better phrase, you guys have been behaving yourselves.
We what?
You've been behaving yourselves.
You mean their stormwater?
Stormwater management system. You haven't made changes to your property where you've impacted it. And you were also built at a later date than this subdivision, so you had different data when we built your stormwater management
So
system.
they're not interconnected? That was my question.
Not directly, but there is some stormwater runoff naturally from the east side of Wolf Road going to the west side.
John, I think there's also some from the west to the east, and that was part of the original design for the developer in order to get the permit to convert the Par 3 to what it is to Ashbrook. Small area.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? This is something that we started the wheels in motion a year ago when we had the 1% rain. It takes a while to get things lined up, get things ready. I would estimate this outcome will be several $100,000. So going forward, we as a board will have to look to how to finance that, whether we do it over years or whatever. See what money we can get, what grants, et cetera.
Then I do have one more question. The 60,000 will come from existing monies, plus some of it will come from the American Rescue Plan?
Correct. We have the money in the budget to do it now, but if we want to do more later on, we've been talking about using the American Rescue Plan to help fund some of this initially. But the board has not made a decision on that, so we can shift money around as we see fit.
And when you say it's funded, the 60,000 is budgeted,
In
right?
the current budget.
Not
We
the
60
big project.
60,000 from the American Rescue Plan?
No, we can exhaust certain line items in the existing budget to take care
Okay.
of this, so that's a priority for us,
And then you get the rest from, okay.
if needed.
All right, other questions? Comments? Okay, John, I don't hear any. John, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kennedy?
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Farremare? Trustee Metz?
Aye.
And Trustee O'Loughlin is absent.
All right, thank you. That has been approved. And next up, first look at the mini golf.
Good evening.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. My name's Stefan Gambus. This is my sister, Marissa Gambus, and we both grew up in this area and moved away, college, career, and we both moved back this year. And Marissa's a resident of Indian Head Park. I'm a resident of Countryside, and my wife and 3 kids live with me there. And we moved here in April, and it's a great family community. But we noticed there's not a lot to do for kids besides the great parks. The closest miniature golf course is 20 minutes away. So my kids love golf. Flag Creek Golf Course is something that they love. They took golf camp this summer and loved it. And we feel like this is a business that would be a great thing in this area to help bring families together. And we were looking at some of the vacant land that you guys talked about in the PUD, and saw the one across the street from Flag Creek that looked interesting to us to pursue. But we know I emailed Andy, who works here, and he made mention that you guys had some intentions for that triangle. And we just wanted to introduce ourselves tonight and kind of share that that's something that we're very interested in, and we wanted to start the discussion about what that could look like in Indian Head Park.
Well, again, thank you for coming, both of you. And so the board knows and residents, the way our PUD is set up, in an example like this, business opportunity can come to the board, express roughly, there's no plans, there's no financial makeup, and then they can get input from the board. Sometimes it's a thumb up, thumb down, it's a frown, it's a laugh, whatever the input is, and that will help them to decide if they want to go forward or not. Again, working with us and the planning and zoning with Noreen and her group. So if you have any questions or comments, please let them know.
What location exactly are you looking
I
at?
don't know the address, but it is just south of the entrance to Flat Creek Golf Course on the western side.
It's just south of Salon Suites.
So north of the tollway.
Yes.
On the west side.
I think there was a house there before.
West side, yeah.
Three houses.
Three houses, okay.
Is this location, we've had other
It's where the
requests?
bar wants to go in.
The medical facility / bar.
Okay. So the first question that comes to my head is, what do you do in the winter months? Is there a plan for any
So,
business there?
yeah, I would like to also have ice cream and concessions there. I'm not sure how much space there is in terms of how big of a building there could be, but winter could be something like a Kris Kringle market. You could sell Christmas trees there in the parking lot. The miniature golf course could possibly be tented and heated, and depending on how large of a building you could also place there, you could have birthday parties in an indoor space where there's some video games, batting cages, that sort of thing. But we would have to determine how big of a building you can have on that property.
So you would like to have something year-round
Yeah.
outside of just the miniature golf, if
Yeah.
possible?
But the main attraction would be the miniature golf course with concessions like ice cream, hot dogs, those sorts of things as the most important aspect of it.
Eileen, did you have?
I did. Have you talked to the current owners of the
We
property?
called the realtor for the current owners.
Okay.
Yeah, and just touched base, but obviously.
Has he called you back?
Yes, yeah. Pursuing either purchasing or leasing obviously would have to depend
Okay.
on. If
Can
this
I
is-
ask when you contacted him?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
have a question. Do you have experience in this type of business or development?
I own my own business, but it's not in miniature golf. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I have a private practice with several therapists.
What does he do?
Marriage and family
I'm sorry, I
therapy.
couldn't hear you.
No problem. Marriage and family therapy.
I don't have my hearing aids.
Charlie?
So your plans are
Oh.
very preliminary at this point. You're just trying to get an idea of what we think of it. And
Yes.
it sounds like it could be a good community gathering place, which would go along with our development objective. So I'd be interested in seeing further plans, hearing about further plans.
Great.
Yeah, I think if there's something year-round that has more interest.
Maybe an ice skating rink in the winter.
Sure. If there's space for it. Yeah.
I think obviously one concern would be parking there.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a landlocked area.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've thought about that at all, but
Well, yeah, and learning more about what the actual rules are as to how many parking spots for retail space would be important to know. Yeah.
One thing that we've talked about is having a road that would go through part of that property to connect to Vine Street, the street behind it. As you think about what you want to do, that could either be a plus or a minus, and so we would want your input on that
Yeah.
as you go forward.
Yeah, I did see that on the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the location of that street hasn't been determined, and there might be parking along the street, right, John? Potentially, right, like Vine, you can park on the
Correct,
street.
on Vine. Definitely not Wolf Road.
Yeah, not Wolf, but. All right, other questions or comments? I think looking the room, it was all fairly positive, if that helps. I don't,
Yeah. And
So-
then just maybe who we should talk to further about this as we have questions that come up.
Andy or myself.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
again for your interest,
Thanks.
and thank you for waiting through the meeting. Okay, that is the end of the new business. Have a good evening. Again, thanks for coming. All right, trustee reports. I'll start with Eileen and go around the table. Do you have anything to report, Eileen?
Well, I want to make a comment. So the American Rescue Act, we talked about earlier, I understand that we're going to get around $500,000 from it. And one of the uses is for storm sewer work, but another big use is for economic development. And I've taken a look at it. I think that some of the things that we have in mind for the triangle would fit into that very nicely. And so I just wanted to alert everyone that I'm going to be working with the Economic Development Committee to put together a proposal to go after the lion's share of that, because as I mentioned, one of the biggest impediments to getting anything done at the Triangle is we have nothing to offer. And we need to be able to work with the landlords up there in order to improve that property. So I'm going to be coming back at you as soon as possible, asking for some of those dollars. Most of those dollars, I have to say.
Thank you for the economic development report. Anything else? Sean?
Yes, I just want to mention that on Sunday, September 19th, from 1 to 6 at the Triangle, we are going to have our second auto show, car show. Last year was obviously postponed due to COVID. I think it's going to be a fantastic turnout. You can't, as they say, swing a dead cat without seeing a sign in the village about it. So I've actually, in the last couple of weeks, every time I see somebody in the area, LaGrange, Western Springs, Countryside, with a car, I make myself known to them and mention to them, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback that people are saying that they're going to come by. So I think it's going to be a great event. 1 to 6.
When is that?
September 19th.
This Sunday? Coming up, or next
no,
Sunday?
a week from
Sorry,
Sunday.
week from
Yes.
Sunday, yes.
Yes.
I have a question. Where can people park?
The church, I believe there's going to be parking. We're going to have an officer at the intersection there escorting people across. Vine Street is the location, the old Mazer property that we were talking about the building going to. And I wish Chief didn't leave. I wanted to confirm with him. There was talk that we were actually going to close off part of Joliet Road and have some parking there, but that was before. When we originally talked about it, it was when Joliet Road was already closed going east northbound. Now that that's back open, that may have changed.
I know the last one, if you go to the shopping plaza, somebody there would direct you, and last time there was parking in the plaza, and then when it was full, it was overflow, like Sean was talking about. So I would say first go to the plaza, would be my suggestion. Oh, Justin?
Studio Suites is a big parking lot. I think they were talking, right next door to the flower shop and stuff. Down in that little thing, it goes way back there. So they were talking about that too.
Thank you. All right, and? Any other movie? Movie night is
Usually
Brenda. It's this Saturday, I believe, right? Next Saturday too?
I thought it was
Boy,
later.
I'm a week off.
We're having our second one.
Oh, is the second one? The 25th.
25th.
The 25th at dusk. Thank you, Sean.
And the movie, Tom?
Yeah.
I think it's Luca.
Yes, very good, Chris.
Okay, it's a good movie.
Thanks for
So I
speaking
am on the
up.
website right now. It is the 25th, and it is Luca.
not
Doors open. The park
have
is
little
open at
kids
7
anymore, so
p.m.
I don't know any of those movies.
And there'll probably be food and other things like we had last time.
Yes, there is
And-
a barbecue grill on there, so I'm assuming, yes, there will be.
Apologize
just like last time.
to anybody who's looking to us for good information. But we got through it. Okay, thank you, Sean. Chris?
No real report, but I'm going to take this opportunity to wish my daughter Tessa her 25th happy birthday. And meetings never coincided with any kids' birthdays before. So, thank you, that's all.
That's wonderful. Rita?
Yes, we had a meeting of the Communications Committee in August, I think the 22nd. Trustee Donensberger was there, and Amy Eckert, and Susan French, and myself. And we had a great meeting and John and Andy were also there. We had a great meeting discussing ways to improve our communication with residents and also to bring the smoke signals back to a monthly publication. So we are going to be looking for content, and so any of the trustees who would like to submit articles or information, or any residents out there who are listening, please feel free to contact me, because we're going to be moving forward with that, I believe, starting in November. So that's it.
And Rita, your mic was cutting out, so I'm going to add that you're looking for content for smoke signals, that anybody hearing this that has content can get a hold of Rita. Is that a fair, short summary?
That's correct.
Thank you, Rita. Charlie?
I attended a meeting that Brenda chaired for the police and fire. The primary discussion was cameras, and just wanted to indicate that that's moving forward, and don't have anything to add on that. And since we're wishing daughter's birthday, I'll wish my daughter happy 50th today.
Very nice. Thank you, Charlie. Village clerk is absent today. Village treasurer, anything to report? No report. Village attorney?
No report, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Village administrator, John?
Yes, you have in your packet, towards the end of your packet, listing of where we are with our major goals for the year. As Trustee Eck pointed out earlier, we are moving towards further investigation of installing security cameras in the village. You have kind of a pie chart outline of when we are looking to move forward with key steps. We've already met with some vendors. We're in the process of finalizing a draft bid spec. We'll look to bid this project out potentially in December, install and testing in February of 21 with an April 21 completion date if the board decides to move forward with this. We also have some other items on the...
John, if I can add to that. In summary, the village is looking at putting video cameras at our main intersections or in and out of town. So these are not going to go in neighborhoods per se, but they will be, again, at the entry points into the village. And this is the board's number one goal from the year when we set goals. And so I know everybody is interested, so the group is gathering information and working through looking at the vendors. Thank you for letting me interrupt, John.
Thank you. So in general, we're trying to establish a series of goals and put them on our website so our residents can know where we are in the process of the major goals that we've undertaken, not only by the village board, but the individual departments. So Path at the Heritage Center is one of the goals that's on there that we'll be putting on the website. Actually, one of the goals is create a mechanism for reporting on goals. Another one was a technology infrastructure review. I'll be talking about that in a moment. And then one goal that we've kind of terminated already was saving for potential purchase of the Lionsville Congregational Church, and we've decided not to move forward with that. In Public Works, we're looking to replace one of our major vehicles. We're doing safety training, not safely training. Crack filling in the village on our road program. Sanitary sewer work, that's all going to be tracked on our website. One of the things also, in summary, at the end is one of my major goals was, in conjunction with the board, was to do a technology and infrastructure review. And what we did was we looked at all of our hardware and software in the village. And this is important because we want to be able to use technology appropriately. We also want to be able to protect the village from viruses and being hacked. So we wanted to make sure that our firewalls are current, that our software security is up to date, and our hardware is what it should be, that we are using not necessarily the latest and greatest technology as far as computers go, but we are using technology to meet our needs. We also had a look at all of our software that we use. And for the most part, I'm pleased to report that we've met our goals. Our firewalls are current. We have a review by our computer consultant every month, and they do a full system check of our system, and we are compliant, and we're doing our job, so to speak. One thing that we did come across in our study was we have a lot of paper, not only in the village hall itself, but at Public Works. And one of the things I'm going to be looking at purchasing is a large format scanner, so we can take all of the plans that we have at Public Works, scan them in, so we have a computerized record of them, and hopefully the paper records, when they disintegrate, will still have a permanent record of what we have there. Also, we have a lot of documents historically that we have to riffle through to find out what's going on, and this way we can do keyword searches to help with researching something. So an issue came up this week about part-time officers in the police department and how they are rated in the village, their classification. And I just stumbled upon it in our Code of Ordinances. Now, I've been here 6 years, but it's something I don't look at a lot, but I did a keyword search and I was able to find it. So this kind of moving forward with hardware will help staff greatly. And I know Public Works has been chomping at the bit about this. So I actually got a proposal from another firm to do the same thing that we're already doing, and it was $7,500, and my recommendation is we forego that. We don't need to spend that money when I am confident that we're meeting the needs of our residents and the goals of the village.
What do we do for backup information?
We back up nightly. All of the individual PCs are backed up to the server. Our server has an external backup drive, and we also back up to the cloud nightly. So we have multiple iterations of backups. And so in case if we have ransomware, we can go back to the prior day, the prior 3 days, and map out when we got hit or remove the virus external from the village.
Or something got damaged in this building or Public
Correct.
Works, we got backup in the cloud.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, Public Works is pretty much on their own. We're going to be bringing them into the system as part of that.
Well, no, I just meant all the records that are there now.
Well, I think,
They're being stored there.
If Public Works burned down today, we lose a lot of information.
we don't have backup to the paper.
So are you talking about getting equipment to do the scanning?
Yes.
For the backup?
Well, the backups were already taken care of. The scanning, I haven't decided. We need a large format scanner moving forward. I'm not sure whether or not we should outsource
That was going to be my question.
the massive amount to do, or do it internally, hire an intern and have them do it. I have yet to make that investigation.
Okay. So, and if that's a monetary value that falls in the realm of you making the decision, or if it exceeds that, then you'll present it to the
Absolutely,
board
and
and we'll
I'll
decide.
present it to the board anyway,
Okay.
what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
So when you say you have a backup, I lost you. What are you backing up?
All right, so all of my files on my computer,
Okay,
they're backed up. I have an external backup on my desk, but let's say my office burns down, or I have a fire in my office. It's also backed up to our server.
okay, so that's, my question is starting on what date? I mean.
Nightly.
Every day.
Every day.
No, I understand that, but before you came in and had your computer, there were all sorts of records that weren't backed up. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is, and I'm not articulating it correctly, but now that we're in the computer age, everything should be backed up. It should be in the system.
Right.
Before that, it wasn't. That's all over at Public Works. What's the cutoff date?
The cutoff date is if we have a paper record we will back it up. Now, we got rid of a lot of paper that we don't have to keep, but things like audits, board minutes,
Yeah.
subdivision plans we have to keep forever. That's all in paper right now at Public Works, and most of it, 95% of it, is not backed up.
And is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay.
But I think the answer to your question is about 10 years ago is when the village started doing the backups of the billing system, the water billing, the human resource files, that kind of stuff. John, was that it on that?
That's it. So consensus that I not move forward with doing yet another firm coming in to spend the $7,500 to do what we've already done and what our other firm has said we're good on. So that's really what I was looking for tonight.
And this was, again, a board goal, and I think we had budgeted 48,000, I think, and that was for the audit itself and then any upgraded hardware, software like the scanner or outsource that may come of this.
So going on, in the front office, we use a computer program called Locus, and that does all of our water billing and our records management for the village. It's our accounting package. It's made by a company that specializes in small municipalities. It fits us perfectly. The support is great, and I see no need to go to like an Oracle base or a large format accounting package where it has far more than what we need and is very expensive to implement. So anyway, I think we're good on software, and if we need something, we do budget for software updates and computer updates annually. That is it for that report.
Thank you. Are you doing the assistant village administrator section?
New to your board packet, monthly now, you will be getting our building report. So when we issue a building permit, you're going to know the value, what's going on in the village, the value of the permit or the construction, and where the construction is taking place. I just think you ought to know the activity that's going on in the departments.
And that report goes to the assessor, is that right?
Yes, we also submit this to the Lyons Township assessor. So when you do something big to your house, she'll know.
Can I ask a question about those? A lot of those, I think, are repaving driveway or?
Yes.
Do we need a permit for that? We're not changing the grade or anything?
No, you don't. So when you do a driveway repaving, if you are putting in a new swale or a new culvert, then you need a permit. But if you're doing a simple overlay, no, where you're not changing the grade or the footprint of the driveway. You do not need a permit.
What if you dig up the old asphalt drive and put a new one in?
As long as you're not changing the grade or going over the culvert, you don't need a permit.
Okay.
When you go into the right-of-way is when you really need a permit.
So if somebody comes in and applies for a permit, do we tell them that in some cases they don't need it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
And anything about leaf vacuuming?
Yes, we will be implementing our fall leaf vacuuming program. We'll set the dates at the next Public Works meeting. We'll probably be looking at late October, November for leaf vacuuming. Again, we will ask the residents, and this will be a newsletter article, about where to put the leaves in the street. We're basically asking people to put them along the street within 5 feet of the edge of the road so the boom can actually vacuum up the leaves and not put extraneous things into the leaf pile, such as pumpkins, metal objects. We had a jack stand several years ago. Somebody put in a jack stand. Other things like that. No grass, no dirt, just leaves. So we'll be educating our community on that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Approximately how many homes do we leaf vacuum at?
We leaf vacuum at every home that is available in the SBC service area.
No, I understand, but of,
We probably leaf vacuum at,
There's 730 homes that are covered under SBC.
Right, so,
Some of which are townhomes, some of
Correct.
which are single-family.
right, and so I do not believe SBC necessarily vacuums at Ashbrook.
They do not.
Okay,
No.
so I would say 650 thereabouts.
Okay.
Do they vacuum at the other townhome associations?
Not at Acacia or Indian Ridge, but every place else they do.
So Indian Woods and Chestnut on the
It
Green?
would be yes.
Yeah, and not every house puts out leaves to be vacuumed up.
And some associations just would rather do it themselves, but it is available to those those areas. And if they're not, please let me know.
Thank you. Are we on department head report? And Chief is not here. I think we gave a brief security camera update. We should have one next month. Justin, Water Department, we saved the best for last.
Yep, always.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. John, thank you, the board. So I'll be real quick. Some updates. There's been no snow and no water leaks, so that's awesome. Our water distribution pump facility kicked off today. We approved the task order, so they're starting to do the design and the construction we're looking at sometime next year. John hit on a couple things. Thank you, John, for the truck and the sewer maintenance. Routine maintenance we've been doing as always around town, but recently we took down the 2 crabapple trees at Blackhawk Park, the gazebo. If everyone's ever walked there or slipped and fell on a crabapple, you know where I'm talking about. So it was a real mess, a real kind of a nuisance. We had taken them down, and we plan on doing some native plantings, planting some red buds in that area. A lot of people seem to go there and walk around. So it kind of blossomed into, what else could we do here? Just a nice idea. It's just an idea I'm throwing out there, kind of like the mini golf, but there's not a lot of money involved. But talking with, this is Frank Sabalas, he's our resident beekeeper in town. So he's got some at the Heritage Center, a bunch of public works, and it's just good for the environment. So the thought was, to have a community garden, maybe one spot or throughout the whole town where everyone can contribute or be a part of, and it's good for, like you said, Suicide Awareness Month. People get out and, it's therapeutic for some people, but access for everyone. So just kind of throwing an idea out there. Just thought it'd be nice, and from public works side and water, we can support, and supply water or some of the garbage removal and stuff like that, or be a part of discussions. But it's really got to be if people are interested in it, we're not talking about making a whole cornfield kind of thing, but there's lots of different things. Frank has been involved in a lot of stuff. He was really interested. I talked to him and asked if he could, come tonight if there's any questions. I used to not be a fan of bees, and then all of a sudden Frank's like, they're just honeybees, and they're once you get to know the bees, they're fine. We don't know them by name yet. Frank does, but honeybees don't bother you. But it's the wasp those are the guys that want to sting you. So I just thrown it out there to the residents, or on TV and here to the board. If anyone's good idea, bad idea, think about it. I don't know.
Any initial comments for Justin for feedback?
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. I love it. The question that I would have for John is, in public works or other areas, we talk about something that's similar to this in my mind is right across the street from South Campus on Willow Spring Road. There's probably, I'm going to guess, 4 raised beds by 4 raised beds. There's time, energy, lumber, nails, screws that need to be put in, dirt. Do we have, $5,000 in a budget where we can get those supplies and start building these and put them in different parts of the community for people to come out to? Or is that something we need to plan for next year?
Plan for it for next year, but yes, we can find money in a future budget for that. The main thing is we need a volunteer to take charge of the project. Public Works is great. They can put these things together in no time. They're phenomenal, our Public Works Department, but we need somebody to tend them or to maintain it and to be in charge of their own spot. So we need somebody to coordinate that effort. And it should be a non-staff person because we have lots on our plate otherwise. But it's a great idea. Public Works is more than happy to do the grunt work to establish or help establish the beds and have appropriate water. But we need somebody to take it after that.
Or to rally other people, you know, like throughout the neighborhoods, and, you know, Frank, you know, is a community activist, and, you know, our different neighborhoods who, there's all kinds of ideas you could do, you know.
I think we could also raise that in smoke signals and as an article saying that this is a potential, and are you interested, would you be willing to, you know, head up a garden in your neighborhood or your part of the community?
Absolutely, and, you know, contact information and, you know, a central kind of thing. So, yeah, you said next month you're doing that, Trustee?
I believe we got one coming out soon,
We've got
October.
one that's going to print relatively soon.
Right,
Okay.
Okay, we're probably
Okay.
looking at October or November.
right. Oh,
Yeah, so just, if interested, let me know, email or voicemail message. That's all I kind of had, real quick. I don't know if I had any other questions or.
I had one. You mentioned the pump house and the study of that. Any estimate to what that final project may be looking at for cost?
So we did the initial study. Now we're in then we had the task order for the design stage. I can't remember the dollar amount, John. Was this, you know, this was the $1 million thing, right? Like, let's say at the high end, it's going to be $1 million, and then, which it won't be. It'll be, you know, way below that. But this is, you know, the design and then construction's supposed to be by probably this time next year.
But it's a fairly big ticket item.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, this is not, you know, 50 grand.
It's not budgeted yet because it'd be in the next year budget, right, John?
And one of the things why we're going down a certain task order route that Strand is helping us with is, with the water main replacement program, we got loan forgiveness in the amount of $1.5 million. So we ended up really only financing about $600,000. We are eligible now for another bite at the apple, so we're going through that process. We don't know what the loan forgiveness amount will be, but we are eligible. So.
Well, and there may not be a loan forgiveness, right? We didn't plan on that in the, yeah.
Correct.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it for reports, right? Did I miss anybody? Any public comments? Oh, yes. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, I have one from Dale Holmquist. Please help, I have contacted the Cook County Maintenance Yard regarding excessive tall grass and weeds that need cutting all along Wolf Road and Indian Head Park, including the area near 7300 South. The weeds by Flag Creek are so tall you cannot even see the creek near the construction site around 70th. This area has been ignored, and construction is not an excuse to just let it go. These areas must be maintained at the south end of the village. This is the approach to our homes. It looks terrible. We would appreciate a village rep making contact with these agencies also, so this will be accomplished promptly. Also, please enforce the village sign ordinance. Real estate and other signs are taking over parkways and are not supposed to be allowed per the ordinance. Thank you. And then I have one more from Michael Iambor. Dear Village of Indian Head Park, I was informed the resurfacing of Acacia driveway curbs would occur only in 2 years. Is there any way these curbs could be resurfaced any sooner?
Thank you. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn this public session and go to closed session?
For the purpose of 2C21, I'm sorry.
So your motion is to make a motion to go to closed session for the review of closed session minutes per 5 ILCS 120-2, parentheses C, in parentheses 21, with no intention to return to open session. Is that your motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Eileen and Charlie.
Uh,
Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Trustee Donnersberger. Aye. Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Farmer.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin is absent.
8:30.
That's been approved. We're going to take a minute bio break.
I have my recorder.